Beach House, Once, Twice Melody. When I first listened to this record, I wasn't expecting an amazing record. I was expecting a very good record. And this isn't an amazing record. It is the best record I've ever listened to. Now, why is that? I can't pinpoint a specific reason. What is this record? It's a new studio album from dream pop duo Beach House. This album was released as EPs all the way up to its release, which I'm not really sure I agree with that sort of rollout, but to each his own, right? So it's in 4 parts. On any streaming service, it's in 4 parts. Although this is cool, I didn't find it to really improve the record. I didn't notice a specific sonic change throughout each part. It all kind of blended together in the end. So I think just viewing it as one record and not 4 individual EPs all combined together is completely fine. I didn't really see the need for it. But besides that, wow. On first listen, this record changed me. On every listen afterwards, it just kept getting better. And that's saying a lot, because on first listen, every track was a 10 except for 3, and those were 9s. I've listened to the entirety of Kanye West's discography except for the second half of College Dropout, and it's an amazing discography. It's some of the best music I have ever heard. But this is on a whole nother level. Something I didn't even think was possible for an album to achieve. While I was sitting there, it felt like my brain just turned off, and the chords and the arpeggios and the synths and the airy guitars just wrap around my cells, my individual microorganisms that twirl inside my body, and each note was like changing my DNA. Like, this sounds like I'm being sarcastic, because I kind of am, but that is the level of insanity this album brought to me. Like, it brought so much to the table collapsed. I can't even begin to describe how much I love this record. It is so good. Every track, it goes through the motions, and you feel these waves of up and down as the synths just blare into your ear, and all of the different chords are waving past your head. It's literally like being in a dream, but the best dream you've ever had. If you have not listened to this record, you are depriving yourself. You are literally depriving yourself of such musical genius. This is the best album I have ever heard. Hands down. I've listened to the entirety of Kanye West's discography. I've said this before. And it can't even compare. It's so good. So good, in fact. I got it on CD. I've never got a CD before in my entire life. And I decided, yep, this is worth it. I'm going to buy this physically. I know I have Apple Music and Spotify, and I can stream it at any point without ads, without anything. But I needed this. I needed to hold this album, because it weighs so much emotionally for me. It is beyond anything I could ever imagine an album being. Every track is a no skip. I've heard people say this about very, very mid albums, but literally I don't skip a track on this. You have tracks like Once, Twice Melody, obviously the title track, and it drops you into this dream state, this world that is just going to take you up and down and loops and rides. You have Pink Funeral, which is oddly scary, really, really intense. You have tracks like Through Me, one of my favorites. It takes you on this roller coaster of synths and arpeggios, and it's insane. One of the favorite track for me, Runaway, held so much emotion with this interesting vocoder throughout the track, which some people don't like, but I actually think is really good. The chorus on this track, though, my little runaway, I wonder where you are. It's actually mind-blowing. Like, coincidentally, every melody on this record, haha, it's Once, Twice Melody, is like, I couldn't even imagine coming up with that. Like, they just pulled it from the heavens. Like, yes, this melody, it's going to change your life. I didn't think I could like an album this much, especially from a band that I don't really listen to at all. At first, I didn't really like the album cover. Like, this isn't crazy. The actual album cover on streaming, though, is in white and gold. So a little more stark. But honestly, it kind of works for me now. It shows this grand record this grandiose font and like this border, and it's like you're holding a book meant for a king or a queen, or it's like royalty. What I think is really interesting too is that if you notice, god damn it, the CD keeps falling out. If you notice, there is a border wrapped around except for this side. It's like that on streaming too, which kind of insinuates that in order to complete the cover, you need to buy it physically, because obviously the border wraps around the side and to the back. So it's kind of like you're only getting one half of the record on streaming, in a way, which I think is interesting, because now that you actually hold the CD, you have the full picture, which is kind of neat. And I'm not sure if that was a genius marketing strategy. By the time you're done with this album, it feels like you just got off the best high ever. Not high like drugs, but like the high of your life. Because everything after that seems so dull. And that's not a negative to this album. It brings you to the highest state possible. I'm not a very emotional person, but it brought these emotions out of me. It grabbed my organs. It just pulled up on them. I was like, ow, damn. Yeah, if I had to choose one of the 4 discs that this thing has to offer, it's called discs, it's just 4 parts of the album, I would choose disc 1. Not because it's like, oh my god, this is clearly the better disc, but it has so many impactful songs all in one tiny little area. But Runaway is on disc 2, and that is my favorite song. So honestly, if I had to pick, I would pick all 4, because they're all amazing. Tracks like Masquerade scared the shit out of me, with those gothic bells and those eerie chords. It was like, god damn, is this a beach house song? The final track is very interesting. The melody that they go for kind of took me by surprise, because, you know, you're kind of going up, and then you hit this sudden chord that it's like, what? Why would you include that? It's really odd the way that the melody rolls out, but it kind of creates this sense of finality that I like. The only track that doesn't quite make it to the 10 is Sunset, and it's really good, but I don't know, there's something about it that just doesn't quite live up to everything else on the record. It's more of an airy guitar song, which there is a few on this record, but this one stands out as a little, I don't know, it just doesn't quite fit. A lot of people complain about the length of this record, but I'm not really sure this record is meant to be listened to all the way through. Obviously, I do it just because this album, it's holding on to me. It really has me, guys. And I really do think that the way they structure it with the 4 parts is kind of how you're supposed to listen to it. So you have, 4 songs here or 5 songs here. Camera just died, sorry. But the structuring and the length of the album fits perfectly. I wouldn't have it any longer. Definitely wouldn't have it any shorter. Although people just say that you should have it shorter. But the way they've structured it with the 4 parts is definitely cool. Wouldn't have released it as EPs though, because it kind of spoils the album if you're listening one at a time as it releases, because at least having one listen through is something that is needed. You can't just listen one at a time for the first time you're listening to this album. But yeah, it's unlike anything I've heard, and probably unlike anything I will ever hear again. This album is a 10 above 10s for me, and I will stand by that until some other album blows me away. But the best album I've ever heard thus far in my lifetime. And I know nobody else is going to agree with me, because I'm sure this is a very dumb take, because, clearly there are other records. Have you heard Radiohead? There's just something about this album that clicks with me. It sticks its key and then turns it, and I go. So yeah, that's Once Twice Melody, Beach House, 10. And that's all from me today. I'll see you in the next one later.